In this video, I'm going to show you how to include subtitles on a DVD of a video that you're burning on your Mac computer. So this builds on another video I did, which is on another page in this wiki that talks about just how to burn a movie. It doesn't talk about subtitles. So what I'm doing with this video is extending on that first video to add subtitles to the process. So we're going to use the same software that we used in the original process called DVD Styler to take a video file that we've downloaded from the internet and burn it onto a DVD. But this time we're going to include subtitles on that DVD. This is not something that DVD Styler does by default. Make it something we have to add some steps to the DVD Styler process to make this happen. So we're going to use one additional piece of software as part of this in addition to the DVD Styler software. It's called ffmpeg, ffmpeg, which I pronounce as ffmpeg. And to install that, we're going to have to enter a couple of commands on the command line inside the OS X terminal application. And those commands are actually here on this wiki page. So you can either type them in by following along with this video, or you can come to this wiki page and you can cut and paste them from the wiki page. So to get to the wiki page, you would go to wiki.daveking.com, and then you would look for, on the main page, you would look for a category called OS X. And then underneath that, a category called Burning Movies Into DVD on a Mac with Subtitles. And that would bring you to this page right here, where you can find these two commands that I'm going to enter right here on the wiki page. So there's a Ruby command here with a URL, and then a brew install ffmpeg command. So those are the two commands I'm going to enter in the terminal. So like I said, you can either type these in manually by following this video, or you can come to this wiki page and cut and paste them. I'm going to do the cut and paste approach myself because I'm not a very good typist. So the first thing we need to do is bring up the OS X terminal. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a way to it's a command line window basically for the Mac. It lets you enter things at the command line rather than using a graphical interface to do them. I've got it already here on my taskbar. But you might not. So if you don't, the way that I find things when I'm looking for them on a Mac is I use this launchpad. I open that up and I type in the first few letters of the command. So in this case it's terminal, T-E-R-M. And there it is. There's terminal. So I can just click on that to open it up. And this is the terminal window here on on my Mac. So like I said, we've got two commands we want to enter in that window. So the first one is right here. It's this Ruby command, so I'm going to drag across that with my mouse, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it into the terminal window. So let me make this a little bigger here so we can see what we're doing here. So you can see that I have copied and pasted it into the window, and once I've done that, I'm just going to hit enter. And this will take a few minutes to execute. Oops, it's told us that we need administrator access, or SUDO access. I didn't tell it to use SUDO access. This lets us act as a system administrator and do commands as a system administrator. So what I need to do is enter the password that's associated with the root user ID on this machine, and that'll be the same password that you use to log in. So whatever your normal basic user password is probably going to be the one that is needed right here. So I'm going to type that in and hit enter. And now it says that these are it's telling us all the things that it's going to do. It's going to install a number of programs. It's going to add some more directories, and it's also going to install the Xcode command line tools. We need the C compiler that comes as part of the Xcode development package, so it's going to install that too. So it's just asking me, are all those things you want to do? And they are, so I'm going to hit enter to continue. And now we'll see it do lots of stuff. And this will take a little while to execute. And it'll tell us along the way what it's doing. So we will wait while this runs. Okay, now we can see that command is completed successfully, and we have now installed what's called Homebrew on our Mac. And Homebrew is a platform on top of which other applications can run. So we can download and compile standard Linux applications to run under OS X in the terminal window using Homebrew. And the one that we're going to download and install and use is the one called ffmpeg. So the command is on the wiki page, here on the wiki page, brew install ffmpeg, to install that in the Homebrew environment. So I'm just going to type that in here and hit enter. And it will now install that ffmpeg application. This again will take a few minutes. It's a rather large and complex program. Okay, so now we're all done. ffmpeg is installed as well. So that ends all the installation process. We'll never have to do this again now that these things are installed. This is a one-time only process that we need to do to get things set up. But once we've done this, we're all finished. So we'll go back now to looking at the full screen. I'm going to close this terminal window. So I'm going to come up here to terminal and I'm going to do a command Q to close that. Alright, so now we will go download the movie that we want to work with. So let's go look at a website where I keep my movie files. Oops, excuse me. Just type the URL. And let's say that we want to burn this movie Coda, which has a number of subtitles in it. So if we look at this first, we need to first figure out which subtitle we want to use. And you can see the subtitles listed here. They're in a drop-down list. And you can see this particular movie has a bunch. We want to count them because they're in order, and we're going to need to know the number of the subtitles we want to use and its name. So we're going to count them first. So there's one. We won't count subtitles off. That's not a subtitle actually. That's just a setting for the player. This is the first subtitle, so we'll count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the one we want. We want the 10th subtitle, and its name is English SDH. So remember those two things. So now that we know that, we will now download the movie, or download the video file, excuse me. So in this particular case, I click over here, and I click on download, and it will download that movie into my downloads folder, and I'll wait until the line goes all the way across down here at the bottom to close the browser. Okay, line has gone all the way across. The folder has bounced, and if I look in here, I can see I've got the Coda MP4 file in here. So I'm all set. I can close the browser now. I don't need it anymore. So get rid of it. So now, the next thing we need to do before we use DVD Styler, we need to extract the subtitles from that MP4 file. So DVD Styler cannot take subtitles that are buried in that MP4 file itself and put them on the DVD. It has to have it requires that the subtitles be in a separate subtitle file. And so that's why we have ffmpeg, because ffmpeg can take the subtitles out of that MP4 file and put them by themselves in a separate file that DVD Styler can use. So that's the first step, is to use ffmpeg. And when we use ffmpeg, we need to open the terminal again and do it in the terminal. So I will once again come here to the Launchpad and type in TERM, find the terminal, and click Enter to open up the terminal. And that file, that Coda file, that MP4 file, is in my Downloads folder. So the first thing I'm going to do here in my terminal window is I'm going to change to the Downloads directory. And so I'm going to do CD for change directory, and then space and the type of name of the directory, which is capital D-I-R, oops, excuse me, D-O-W-N-L-O-A, Downloads, with a capital D. So I'm going to change directories. So now I'm in the Downloads directory. I can see that right here, just before the command prompt. And if I want to see all the files that are in the Downloads directory, I can type the command list, or ls, and that will list all the files that are in the Downloads directory. And the only file there is this Coda MP4 file. So that's the file that I need. And I'm going to want to take the 10th subtitle stream out of that file, the one that's called English SDH, and I'm going to put it in a separate file. So my first step is I need to figure out how to identify that particular subtitle set that I want to extract from the file. So I'm going to use a command that's called ffprobe, ffprobe, and I'm going to follow that up with the name of the file, Coda, name of the video file. And there's a little trick I just used that you can take advantage of as well. I typed in the first 4 letters of the file name, C-O-D-A, and then I hit the tab key. And there's a thing called completion, line completion, that is built into the terminal that will try to figure out the rest of the file name when you press the tab key and fill it in. Now that requires that you have typed in, the first characters that you've typed in uniquely identify the file. There's no other files in this directory that start with CODA right now, just that one. So when I typed in CODA, that was enough. I hit tab and it filled in the rest of the file name. So that saves you a little typing. So I'm going to do this ffprobe command, and it's going to type out a lot of information. We'll scroll through that information after it's filled up the screen a couple times here. So here we go. Boom, lots of stuff here now. So I have to go over here, grab the little scroll bar, and move back up to the top of that information. So I'm going to grab that scroll bar. Oops. There we go. And I'm going to move up to where I typed that ffmpeg command. So there's lots of stuff in here. So here's where I typed the ffprobe command right here. And then this is the start of the output. So if I scroll down a little bit, I can see that here's the input file. Input number 0, which is the file called Coda, is in this Matroska WebM format, which is interesting but not all that important. It's got this metadata. It's 1 hour and 51 minutes long. It's got a bit rate of 1,000 kilobytes per second. The first stream, and the streams are what we care about, the first stream called 0:0 is a video stream. So that's got the actual video pictures in it. If we go down and we look at the next stream 0:1, is an English stream of audio. So that's the actual sound for the movie. It's in stereo. So you could have, multiple different audio tracks, audio streams for different kinds of audio. You might have, audio that's in stereo format, audio that's in 5.1 channel stereo, For that kind of system, you might have director's comments. You could have multiple streams that are audio streams. So in this case, we only have one. So the next stream we see is a subtitle stream. Oh, okay. Well, that's what we're interested in, is subtitles. So we're going to look for the subtitle stream that's the one we care about. And this one is not the one we care about. It's called Galaxy RG. Remember, we're looking for English SDH. And we're looking for the 10th one. So we can see this is stream number 2. So if we add 10 to that, we know that we're going to be looking at for stream 11. So if this is stream number 1, then stream number 10 will be 0:11. So let's scroll down till we find stream 0:11. There's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, there's 7, there's 8, there's 9, there's 10. It's an English subtitle stream, but it's the forced subtitles, only the ones that are absolutely necessary. And the next one is the one we care about. There it is. So 0:11 is the English SDH stream that we want to extract from all this other stuff that's in here. We want to take just this stream out and put it in a separate file, and that's what ffmpeg is going to do for us. So we used ffprobe first to find the right subtitle stream. And what we have to remember is this 0:11, because that's how we're going to tell ffmpeg which piece of this big file with all these different things in it to extract and put in the subtitle file. So the thing we want to remember is after we found the English SDH stream that we were looking for, its stream number is 0:11. So now we're all done with that. So we can go back down to the very bottom here where we've got another command line waiting for us. And we can do the actual extraction and use the ffmpeg command against the input file. -I means the thing that follows is the input file. So I'm going to type again CODA and hit the tab key, fill that in. Okay, so that tells ffmpeg that the ffmpeg that it should look in the MP4 file to map the stream called 0:11. So we're going to map that stream into an output file called Subtitles SRT. Okay, so the SRT extension is important. It's the standard extension for any subtitle that has the type of subrip, and pretty much I would expect that every subtitle that you find inside an MP4 MKV file, video file like this, is going to be in subrip format. So you can pretty much depend on this always being SRT. You know, if you have some weird problem happen, you can always come back and check and make sure that the subtitle you're taking actually says subtitle subrip here after the stream number. That'll tell you that's an SRT format, and this is the right file extension to use. So that's all we need to do. So ffmpeg, then -I, the name of the MP4 file, then map and the number of the stream that we want, and then the output file name, Subtitles SRT. So I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to do it. It's done it. So now we have an SRT file in our downloads folder. So if I move this, if I zoom back out again, excuse me, so we can see the whole screen. If I come down here to my downloads folder now, I will see that I've now got a Subtitle SRT file in there as well. And I can open that with a text editor. So I'm going to open that up with, let's say text. Let's try it. We have a notepad thing. No, we just have text edit here on this machine. So we'll open it up with text editor, and let's see what it looks like. Didn't know. Oh, there it comes. Okay. So now we can see it's a text file with all the subtitles in it. That's what a subrip file looks like. That's what an SRT file looks like. Here are all the subtitles. Each subtitle is numbered. It has a start time and an end time during which it will be displayed, and the next line or two will be the actual subtitle that displays on the screen. So that's the SRT file that we extracted from the MP4. So now we're ready to go use a DVD styler to put that MP4 file and that SRT file together onto the DVD and make our DVD with subtitles. So I'm done with the terminal window. I'm going to close it up with Command Q, and I'm going to open up the DVD styler. And from here on, at least the beginning of this process is very much like the process that you have used in the past. So I'm not going to cover this in great detail. I'm assuming you know how to do this. If you don't, you can go back and watch the video that I referenced in the wiki page to see what to follow along and see what I'm doing. The first thing I'm going to do is make this a 16:9 DVD. I'm not going to set a title, but you could set a title, and that's my defaults. I'm going to say I'm not using a template. I'm going to delete the menu. I'm going to find the MP4 file in the file browser. Here it is. I'm going to drag it down here and drop it. So that's the MP4 file. I'm also going to add the SRT file at the same time. Now this is a new part of the process. So I've put the video file down here, the MP4, but I want to include the subtitles within Title 1 as well. So I'm going to take this subtitle SRT file and I'm going to drop it right on top of the movie down in the bottom bar. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to drag it down here and I'll drop it right on top of that Title 1 block at the bottom. So now it's in there. So that's the first thing I have to do to add subtitles. The next thing I have to do is, or I can do, is I need to configure the subtitles. I might want to set the way they're going to look when they play on the DVD. So the way I do that is I double click on this title down here. I double click on this black box at the bottom, and it brings up the edit screen for that title. So I can see the first thing here that I can see, of course, is the video file itself. But if I scroll down with my mouse, if I scroll down to the bottom, I can see this SRT file as well. Has been included, and it's in English language. Now, there's a little icon here with 2 dots in it. Kind of hard to see on the screen. I'll zoom in on it a little bit here so you can see it. But there's a little icon there with double dots on it. And if I click on that, it will bring up a configuration window that lets me modify the look and feel of those subtitles. So here's the subtitle properties window. And I can do things like pick the font that I want to use for this. And from experience, I know what my preferences are. Yours might be different. So you can experiment with this as much as you want. But there is one thing that you must do on this window, and that is you must change the character set here from ASCII to what's called UTF-8. So you want to click on this little scroll bar over here and scroll all the way down to the bottom here almost to where it says UTF-8. So click and select that. So that must be selected. You will get errors sometimes when you try to burn subtitles onto the DVD if you don't do that, because sometimes there will be characters in that subtitle file which are not regular ASCII characters, but are actually characters that are only known in the UTF-8 character set. So that's a must-do. The rest of this stuff I'm about to do is optional. So you can pick your font. I like this Arial font that it defaults to, but I like it a little bigger, so I'm going to change it to 32 points. I don't like the way they color the text, so what this is set up by default for is for each character will be outlined in black and filled in inside in yellow, and I don't think that's attractive. What I like is just plain white letters with no outlining, and I like a small bit of shadow underneath. They don't have any shadowing underneath this at all. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to change the color of this fill. And if I do that, I click on these little icons that are next to the color with the 3 dots in them. So I'm going to click on that little icon there. It brings up a color wheel where I can pick my color. I'm actually going to use the eyedropper tool down here and pick a white area on my screen and just click on that. And that changes that color, as you can see, from yellow to that white that I picked. Once I've done that, I can click the close button. And now I have a white text, my white letters. I don't want any outlining, so to turn that off, I click on the color box itself. I'm going to click on this little black box here next to outline and turn it into an X. When it's an X, that means it's not used. It's not going to do that. There'll be no outlining. I like my shadow to be black, but in order for it to show up, I've got to offset it from the character. Right now, with an offset of 0, 0, the shadow would be directly underneath the letter, and you couldn't see it because it's not sticking out the side. I need it to stick out the right side and the bottom just a little bit, to the right and below of the letter just a smidge. So I'm going to give this 2 pixels. I'm going to say 2 pixels to the right and 2 pixels down below the letter. So that sets the shadow offset around the letter. And the rest of this I'm going to leave alone. This box over here says alignment determines where your subtitles will be. Your subtitles will be centered at the bottom of the picture, which is the normal place to put them, although you can pick other places if you'd like by clicking the other dots here. You want them, on the right hand, in the lower right hand corner, in the upper right hand corner, up on top, centered, however you want them, but normal place to put them is right here. This provides a little bit of a margin space around the subtitles. So when it draws the subtitles, it puts a little empty space. You won't see it, but what this does is it keeps the subtitle, when the player plays them, from getting too close to the edge of the screen. So that's I'm going to let that default, leave it the way it is. Now I want to remember these settings so I don't have to retype this stuff every time I come in here. So once I've got a set of settings that I like, I'm going to click this Use as Defaults button here, and that will set all these so that next time I come in here and do a new video, it will remember all these settings and I won't have to retype them all. So I click Use as Defaults and it remembers them. And once I've done that, I'm ready to go ahead and burn this set of subtitles. So I'm just going to click OK to say let's use those settings. And now there's one last thing I have to do. I always must do this. This is a must do. This post commands box down here tells the DVD what you want to do after the video is finished. So if you played this MP4 file all the way through, what would you want to have happen next? Well, it defaults to calling the last menu, but that doesn't work. That will create an error because we got rid of the menus. If you remember, we deleted the menu, so there is no menu. So it can't call a last menu. So we have to pick something else. And the only something else that makes sense in the way we're doing these DVDs is to just pick Exit. You could say jump to Title 1, which would make it go back and start playing the video at the beginning again. So it would play the video in an endless loop, if that's what you want. But most of the time, I want it, when it's done playing the movie, I just want the DVD to exit. So I'm going to pick Exit. So you must pick either, in this, without a menu, you must pick either one of the last two, jump to Title 1 or Exit. And you can't leave it at anything else or you'll get an error. So that must be done too. Doesn't have anything to do with subtitles, but since you're here in this menu, you must do it. So we'll say OK now that we've done all that. We've set up the subtitles and we've set up the exit process. So I'll click OK. So now we're ready to burn, and the burning process from here on out is exactly the same as you've done before. Click on the burn icon here. I don't have a DVD player attached to my machine here, so I'm going to just burn an ISO image. You would, though, as you normally do, use the burn button down here and pick your DVD device to burn it. But this is exactly the same as it would be with any other DVD that you've burned using DVD Styler. So now we will start this, and it will take a while to complete. It will have to pre-process the video, and convert it into the format that goes on DVD. Pre-process the subtitles as well, which you'll see it do near the end, and then it will actually write all that stuff into a file structure that can be burnt onto DVD and burn it on the DVD. So this will take a while, as I'm sure you're used to. So I'm going to end the video here. I'm assuming that you're familiar with the rest of this process, so I won't make us wait for this process to complete and show you the end of it like I did in the other video. If you want to see that process, you can check the previous video. It shows you the end and how things finish up, so you'll be familiar with that. So thanks for watching this. I hope it was helpful. Bye-bye.